Okay, so let me just, we're now live on YouTube, and what I will do now is also I will also start with this. Welcome, everyone. I'm Alfred Lamont Weber, and we're here with an honored guest and colleague, Samuel Chong. Welcome, Samuel.
Thank you for having me here.
And Samuel, you have brought to us a vessel. I won't call it a book. I call it a vessel.
Yes.
And I hope I have the pronunciation correctly. Thiaoouba Prophecy. Is that the correct?
Yes, that's right. Thiaoouba Prophecy.
Thiaoouba Prophecy. And I'm going to just quote from Michel Desmarquet, January 1989, and then I will ask you to explain to us about Michel Desmarquet. It's a preface. I've written this book as the result of orders received and which I have obeyed. Further, it is an account of events that happened to me personally. This I affirm. I imagine that to some extent, this extraordinary story will appear to some readers as science fiction, a story entirely invented, but I do not have the imagination that such a fabrication would require. This is not science fiction. The reader of good faith will be able to recognize the truth in the message I transmit from my new friends to the people of the planet Earth, from my new friends to the people of the planet Earth. The message, in spite of numerous references to races and religions, reflects neither racial nor religious bias on behalf of the author, Michel Desmarquet, January 1989, and then he quotes a passage from the Bible. They have eyes, but they do not see, ears, and they do not hear. So if you could explain to us just a bit about who Michel Desmarquet is, what the Thiaoouba Prophecy is, and how you became involved with it, and then we'll go more in depth with it. So over to you. And thank you very much for doing all of this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Michel Desmarquet was a French-Australian who was a landscaper or a farmer, just a regular person. One day in June 1987, he had this kind of a very wonderful experience of being taken away by this group of extraordinarily beautiful and intelligent and advanced ETs to their planet for 9 days and then came back, in which he was told a lot of the knowledge and also mysteries of the paranormals on Earth. He was told how the Great Pyramid of Egypt was built, what happens when people enter the Bermuda Triangle or parallel universe, and what happens in our ancient past, where we all came from. We all came from different planets, according to them, and also the ancient civilizations such as Lemuria and Atlantis. What about the stories in the Bible? And he was told a lot of things that really happened in our ancient past, as recorded in the ancient scriptures of the Bible, and also what we need to do to change our world to the better, for the better. And it's a book. It's a very unique book that contains a lot of warnings from our friendly ETs friends, and if we take it, we're going to change the course of the future to have a better future. If we don't take it, we're probably going to be heading a catastrophe. So this is a book of warnings for our ET friends who have been watching us and guiding us and providing indirect assistance to us for thousands of years already. And I got to know about this book accidentally when I was searching for a book online on Amazon, a book of ET contactees, because I thought we can actually just learn from the ETs about the mysteries and paranormals on Earth. Because if they can visit here, they must have advanced civilization and knowledge. They can just tell us what really happens in the Bermuda Triangle and what we need to do to improve our lives and to progress at a much faster pace in the future. So I found this book on Amazon, and I was fascinated by the content, especially in the chapter, Who is Christ? Because it answers all my questions regarding the Bible, the inconsistencies in the Bible, to be exact. But in the postscript, it says there are more incredible things that Michel Desmarquet, the author, was not allowed to write about because we were far from understanding them. I was extremely curious about that one thing he left out in the book. So I decided to track him down, and that's how I was able to find my ways to Vietnam, where he was living at that time, by actually showing a photo that I took from the internet, in which it showed his bungalow to the local taxi driver, and the taxi driver took me to where he was living at that time.
So you actually met Michel in Vietnam?
Yes, I met him twice. Once in 2016, and the second time in 2018, just a few months before he passed away.
Oh, good. Could you tell us about those meetings?
The first meeting I met him, I was seeking for answers, things he didn't write in the book, because I believe that there are more important information or facts that he, for one reason or another, he wasn't allowed to write in the book. So I was looking for the secrets he left out. And but he was very annoyed at my visit because he was a very private person. But as the day, I spent 5 days over there, just 2 days before I was about to leave, he showed me a contract that he signed with a Chinese publisher. He said that he received $2,000 for the copyright for the book to be published in China, but he never heard from the publisher again. He wanted me to follow up to see whether the book was successfully published or not. It turned out that the publisher was afraid of the censorship in China and decided not to have it published. So he asked me to find a different publisher. I was so eager to cater to his wishes in order for him to open up, to tell me the secrets that he didn't write in the book. So that's how I began to have a very interesting and nice working relationship with him. And I had the book published in China and Taiwan, where it became a bestseller.
Oh, because my book on the Omniverse has been published in Taiwan.
Yes.
And I'm wondering whether it's the same publisher.
It's a different publisher.
Do you recall is it the same publisher?
No, it's a different publisher.
Oh, a different publisher.
Yeah. But your publisher is very good.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, good. You just mentioned something, and I just want to cut to the chase. You mentioned that you had been struck by what the book says of the nature of Christ. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And I know you said that, and I went, so I just want to cut to the chase. I would rather just not leave that till the end, because that's one of my great interests, and I'm sure many people get great interest. Would you like to share that with us, or?
Yes. So from my background, I was born in China, and I didn't believe the miracles performed by Jesus Christ as documented in the Bible, because I thought those are just magic, too good to be true. And then there are also other questions that I had in mind when I was reading the Bible. For example, how come there was no record of Jesus performing any miracles before the age of 28? And why some people claim that Jesus went to India, and why Jesus called his mother woman, not mother? And so there are so many questions that I was having a lot of issues with. And also with the hypocrisies that some of the people, like some of the church people, did in the past. For example, the Spanish Inquisition, and in the name of God, they killed a lot of people. There's a lot of questions like that. I mean, I believe in Jesus. His teachings are really good, but why did people kill others in the name of Christ? So those are my questions before I was really interested in knowing. So this book says that Jesus and Christ are actually two different beings. Jesus, born out of Virgin Mary, was actually born from the implant or embryo implanted by the ETs into the uterus of Virgin Mary. She was indeed a virgin because they really wanted to fulfill the prophecy and to show people that someone extraordinary was going to be born this way, and to catch people's attention, so to speak. Because when a person is born that way, when the astral body enters the fetus or the embryos, he would have to pass through what the Nagas call the river of oblivion, forgetting everything happened in the past lives, forgetting all the knowledge accumulated in his previous lives to perform miracles. So that Jesus, the young Jesus, even though he was highly intelligent, very smart, and highly spiritual, he couldn't perform any miracles. So that's why in the Bible, you don't see Jesus, the young Jesus, performing any miracles. It's that Jesus who went to India and traveled to China and died in Japan. So there's a tomb of Jesus Christ in Shingo Village, Japan, that people can look up to or visit and to verify the information. And people there still sing a song that sounded like an ancient Hebrew language. And also the book gives a very detailed account of what happened to that Jesus and his brother who died in China. And that Jesus carried a bundle of hair of his brother. So there's a tomb next to the tomb of Jesus Christ in Shingo Village, Japan. That's his brother's tomb that contained the bundle of hair that he carried before. But Christ, yes.
Go ahead.
But Christ, on the other hand, was the one who really performed all the miracles, who died on the cross, who got crucified, and who resurrected 3 days after, just to show people that there's life after death and there's reincarnation. But somehow the concept of reincarnation was removed by the Catholic Church councils. That Christ performed all the miracles so that people could believe in his teachings or preachings, which emphasized the importance of love and spirituality and life after death. Because nowadays, or even people in the past, they're having very suspicious. They don't believe anyone unless they are someone who are extraordinary, who can do things that they couldn't do. So this is the whole purpose of Christ coming into the body of Jesus, made by the Thiaoubans, by this group of beautiful ETs. So they made a body resemble the shape and the appearance of Jesus that went to Japan. And then the astral body of Christ came into this body. So there, at a period of time, there were two Jesus Christs, one Jesus in Japan, one Christ in Israel or in the Middle East.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. Very interesting. Well, I have a series of like maybe 15 or so questions around topics, and maybe I could mention each topic and you could talk about them for maybe 10 minutes or so, and that'll fill the, that'll fill the 2 hours of our normal programming. Does that sound like a reasonable
Yes, that's good.
thing? Okay, good. And so this is what the on the topic that I mentioned, what the Thiaoouba Prophecy says about these topics, and what the extraterrestrials say, and etc.
Yes.
And this vessel of wisdom and knowledge. That's why I call it a vessel and not a book, because it's larger than a book.
Yes.
Okay. The first would be the purpose of the universe and of our life on Earth. What does it say about the purpose of the universe and of our life on Earth?
Yes. Everything is created by God, for sure. And very similar to what people believe to be the Big Bang theory, in which in the very beginning, God, or the great spirit, the great ether, imagined everything that it was about to create. And then suddenly there's the explosion or Big Bang, so that the stars, planets, animals, and human beings were created. Because it was a pure spirit, it is a pure spirit. It really wants to experience life through a physical being. So it inserted a tiny portion of itself into each one of us, human beings, so that it can actually experience itself through a physical body. So we are actually spiritual beings in a physical experience. And the purpose of life is actually to accumulate what we experience, what we encounter, and to really learn from the setbacks or challenges that we all face in our lifetimes, and to learn spiritual lessons and to accumulate and purify our spirituality or spiritual development, so that we can progress to a higher level of or a higher category of planet, to live on a higher category of planet. So the whole purpose of creation is to experience in a physical life or a physical environment, for the spirit to really feel the happiness, the pains, the challenges, and also the fulfillment when we do certain things correctly. So this is the whole reason or purpose of the creation of the universe, according to this book, the Thiaoouba Prophecy. And when the spirit imagined everything, it actually has a lot of very interesting kind of mechanisms, in the sense that we have 9 planets, or revolving 8 or 9 planets, normally 9 planets revolving around a star like the sun. And there are 9 stars that revolve a bigger star, and 9 bigger stars revolve around a bigger star, until it goes into the center of the universe, which is where the universe started. And it's actually being shown scientifically by astronomers. They just found another solar system or solar system similar to ours, in which 9 planets revolve around a star. I think if they keep looking, they're going to find the same pattern. They're going to find the pattern as described in this book, as told by the ETs to Michel Desmarquet.
So it isn't just by chance. There's actually a pattern through which the universe grows and develops.
Right, it's designed, it's meant to be that way. It's also meant to be that way in the sense that we have 81% of predestination, and the other 19% is by accidents. So the numbers 81 and 19 occurred 3 times in the book. So basically, if we say that we are going to use our own will to do certain things, that's going to determine 81% of the result. And the other 19% is probably by chance or by opportunity or
Mhm.
accident.
Right, right. Okay. Now, here is something, the second topic. Of course, today is numerologically a very interesting day. It happens to be the 22nd of February, 2 of 2023. And it says, true dangers in life surpassing atomic destruction. And I suppose they mean nuclear destruction, right?
Yes, yes.
And just yesterday, the last 2 or 3 days, I mean, I'm a person who has followed the whole question of nuclear disarmament and nuclear war for many decades. That's been part of my study. And you had the president of Russia come out and say that they're stepping away from the START treaty. And while the American president was in Poland and in Ukraine, the Russians had a test of an ICBM, of an intercontinental ballistic missile, while the American president was there in Ukraine. The Russians shot off an ICBM, which is an intercontinental ballistic missile, and they call their most powerful nuclear weapon Satan. That's what the Russians call it. And of course, we have, anyway, I could go on and on and on. So for me, this is like, we're dealing with that immediately. And I know in exopolitics, we have the example of Tiamat, which was a planet that 700 in our solar system, that 705,000 years ago, there was a reptilian human nuclear war, and the planet Tiamat was a large, verdant, human inhabited planet and is now the asteroid belt. So that's happened before, at least according to some science. And the planet Mars was a verdant planet. And now, as a result of that nuclear war, according to some testimony, it lost its atmosphere. It became a pumpkin-shaped planet. It's obloid because it was affected by that same nuclear war. And it has no vegetation on the surface. This is Mars. So we have the asteroid belt and we have Mars that are examples of past nuclear wars that have occurred in our own solar system. So now, what does the Thiaoouba Prophecy say about the true dangers in life surpassing atomic destruction?
According to them, materialism is more dangerous than nuclear bombs or nuclear wars, because it's the materialism that causes the nuclear wars. And they actually list the 4 dangers on Earth, the number 1 being money, because it's the money that creates jealousy, and jealousy creates hatred. There's a very fine line, very thin line between jealousy and hatred. So it's the materialism and also the hatred among countries or between countries that cause the wars, and that result in nuclear wars, perhaps down the road. So if we really want to solve the fundamental issues on Earth, we should focus on the elevation of mind, the collective consciousness, and to really ask people not to be too focused on materialistic wealth, And people should focus on really getting along with each other to help each other, as preached or suggested by Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago. Love one another and to really help each other out, because we are all created by God. When God created every one of us, we all have a sparkle of the divine. We are all the same. We are all like created by the same God, and we are all part of God. So we should get along and to coexist harmoniously without this kind of very unwise and uninteresting and kind of stupid wars that go on. And people really need to realize what appears in front of them or in the news media may not necessarily be what's really going on behind the scenes. Because if you see for example, the United States government, your Republicans and Democrats, they come and go every 4 or 8 years. There are other people who remain in power. Some people call them the deep state. And there are also other people who control the deep state. And some people say they're the secret societies and people like that. And we really need to know that we should not be really influenced by what the mainstream media portrays, or kind of the narratives of the stories by CNN or Fox News. We need to have more independent thinking. We need to realize the wars are created not by the people or the politicians, for that matter. It's really the people who have a lot to gain from the wars, that who created the wars. For example, the military-industrial complex, for example. Because, if there's a period of time, for example, 10 or 20 years of peaceful time in which there's no war in the world, then they wouldn't be able to make any money out of their weapons anymore. So they really have to instigate and create certain conflicts in the world so that wars can be started, so that they can sell arms and weapons to the warring countries. And I think people need to realize that money is the root of all evils. This is true because if you look at not just politics or wars among nations, if you just look at the major pharmaceutical companies or major oil companies, they really care a lot about the interests of their shareholders. And this is something that I really want people to know, that if you're a major shareholder of a major pharmaceutical company or a major oil company, would you really want to have people know about the cheap, inexpensive, and effective way, a natural cure for cancer? Or would you really want to care about your shareholders and other shareholders, and including yourself, and to really promote expensive treatments that people have to take periodically and continue to take for a long time, so that you can generate residual or constant revenue throughout the entire course of treatment? Or if you're an oil company, would you really want the clean technology to be promoted to the rest of the world so that they don't rely on oil anymore? I mean, if I were a major shareholder, I wouldn't want that to happen. This is what's happening today. You need to know that there have been inventions of hydrogen energies or engines in the past. For example, Stanley Meyer, American inventor, who invented a water-based engine back in the 70s or 80s, a car that ran on water. What he did was that he found the right vibrational frequency that can easily break the covalent bond of hydrogen and oxygen atoms in water molecules, so that the hydrogen can be extracted in a very efficient manner to be used as a fuel or energy source in his cars. And there are other inventors in Brazil, in Greece, in in Japan or even in Iran that invented the same thing, but they have not been able to commercialize such technologies because of the special interest groups.
Because of what? Sorry.
The special interest groups.
Right. Yeah, and from an exopolitics point of view, we who study exopolitics and civilizations on other planets, one of the things, early lessons that you learn is that on advanced planets there is no money, and that is it's consciousness that with a consciousness, so that money is actually a means of control by the deep state in our third density here, and the products of the deep state are war, disease, crime, and poverty. So money goes along with that. So that's very interesting. Did they at all talk about whether there would be any atomic wars here at all, or?
Well, the discovery of atoms or the development of nuclear bombs is a necessary development in any civilization on any planet. It's a necessary step, just like it's a necessary step for a child to know the dangers of a match or fire. It's the important lesson is to how to use the technology wisely so that we don't destroy ourselves. Fire, for example, is beneficial for us or to us. It creates warmness and creates a lot of beneficial results if we use it correctly. So we have to use nuclear energy or nuclear technology, very, very cautious and beneficial manner. So this is what we need to learn. It's not that we don't want to have nuclear technology. We just have to know how to use it correctly. Also, back to your point about nuclear wars on different planets, I would weigh the evidence of conflicting theories and to see which evidence presents more kind of verifiable facts. And to me, I haven't really researched a lot of the other theories that including nuclear wars on Mars or other planets. But this book gives a very detailed account of the ancient past on Mars and also on a few other planets. Some planets did have a nuclear war, but not with the involvement of the reptilians, in which I need to see more evidence of the existence of the reptilians in order to be convinced. But this book has so many specific and verifiable facts that so far, without considering the other books that probably I haven't read, I think this book carries more weight, at least to me, to believe that it has more evidence to convince me.
Right. Okay. Well, let's go on to another subject, and that is the subject of conscious reincarnation and life after death.
Mm-hmm.
What is the view in the Thiaoouba prophecy of life after death and conscious reincarnation?
So it says that the universe is a big atom in which everything is connected. In the sense, it indirectly subscribes to the holographic universe theory, in which we are living in a holographic environment, in which the consciousness is connected, no matter how far we are from each other. So collective consciousness is a very, very important way to elevate ourselves if we use it correctly and if we really push for it. if we form enough people to really join us to raise the collective consciousness of our world. It also talks about reincarnation, and indeed, even though the Bible doesn't talk about it explicitly, it exists. In fact, Michel de Marquet, the author, was shown his past 80 lives while he was on the planet Thiaoouba. A few times he was a beggar, and one time he was a mining worker in Germany. Once he was a goldsmith in Japan, and he was also a queen on a different planet. So people go through different past lives to learn and to continue to learn, to accumulate spiritual lessons. And our physical body is just a tool that we use to grow spiritually. And what goes up has to come down. So once a person was the richest person in the world, and then the next lifetime, he would have to become like a beggar on the street. So he would have to experience everything possible in different environments, in different lifetimes. So that's how we learn. And there are a total of 9 different categories of planets in the universe. We are currently living on category 1 planet on Earth. So we are just like elementary school students learning the basic concepts of life. The Thiaoubans, on the other hand, they live on a category 9 planet, the highest category. And their role has been to really guide us throughout history in a very indirect manner, so that we can live on the right path and to really go into the right direction. A lot of people ask me, like, why don't they just show up directly in front of the White House? And why don't they just appear in front of major media outlets and to declare that they exist and they're here to help us? And it's very reasonable to ask those questions for a young soul. I would counter and respond in a way that we are here to learn lessons. If you are to learn how to solve a problem, like a mathematical problem, if you are given the answers directly, like by your parents, without telling you how to do it, how to solve it, then you don't learn much. So it's just like we have to take the initiative. We have to experience everything. We have to experience the setbacks, the challenges, in order to learn on our own more effectively, more vividly, so that the lessons can be engraved in our memories, so to speak. So that's why they are here to help us, but only when it is absolutely necessary. And when that is absolutely necessary, they only help us indirectly. A few times in the past, they assisted us as documented in the Bible. For example, they destroyed the 2 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, because the 2 cities were setting a very bad example for the people who were in contact with them. The residents of the 2 cities punished the compassionate people. They kind of, it's documented in the Jewish ancient scriptures, not in the Bible, but if people are interested, they can look it up from the Jewish ancient texts. Imagine you have malignant tumors in your body, like cancer cells. Would you want to keep those cells or would you want to take them out? So this is exactly what the Thiaoubans did. By destroying the 2 cities, they help the rest of the people to maintain a healthy way of life, to grow spiritually.
Right. Okay. Next topic. The Big Bang, creation and evolution.
Yes, so when the Big Bang happened, and the creation of life started in a very unique way. So some people wonder, who comes first, chicken or egg? So the answer is cosmic rays, cosmic energy. So this book explains the 4 different forces that resulted in the creation of planets, stars, animals, and human beings. I would strongly suggest people to look into this book to find the answers, at least the answers that resonate to my heart. So it's not chicken who came first or egg, it's the cosmic ray that caused the creation of life, of human beings. It has certain proof by other people, such as Barbara Brennan, who wrote a book, Hands of Light. And she was a former NASA scientist who was able to see the colors of auras. So she used different terminologies, but she saw that the creation of human being actually started from a very, very unique point. And that point expands into 3 different points. And then the 3 different points expands to the 7 chakras. And the 7 chakras expand into the different bodies that we have as a human being, including the physical body, the astral body. She calls it in different terms. And the book Thiaoouba Prophecy talks about it as a physical body, physiological body, astral body, astrotypical body, and other types of bodies. So our human beings, not just a physical body, but also involves other types of bodies. So if some people like, I would say, Elon Musk wants to duplicate a human being, then he would really have to consider incorporating the other bodies into a physical body of a human being in order for the human being to be able to think, to really behave like us. Otherwise, it would be just like a robot.
Now, it seems to me that these next topics, astral travel, telepathy, levitation, development of the mind, aura, and its significance, that is generally in the area of that we would call parapsychology, and which of course is, I mean, from my point of view, is highly developed here on Earth. But that's because I've been part of parapsychology since 1973. But is there something more, or how would you say that the Thiaoouba Prophecy approaches what we call parapsychology, all of those areas?
The mind is powerful, according to Thiaoouba Prophecy. Through certain psychic practices, people can develop this kind of super psychic abilities or supernatural abilities, as some people may call them. For example, levitation can be performed by certain people on Earth nowadays. Now, I'm not talking about the magicians doing levitation using magic tricks. I'm talking about real levitation. A magician called Dan White actually visited Nepal, and where he saw a Nepali monk performing levitation in front of him. And he filmed it and recorded in a documentary, and it was shown in History Channel. And it's not by magic tricks, it's by psychic practice in which gravity is neutralized when the practitioner raises certain vibration. When the vibration counteracts with gravity, levitation can be performed. I have friends who could do that when they were young. A person who has X-ray eyes, she was able to do that when she was young and in China. And she actually participated in a lot of the studies done by certain organizations by the Chinese military. Another friend of mine, after reading the book Thiaoouba Prophecy, contacted me and said that he was able to do that when he was young, in which he would fast for 3 days, and then he would, there's a meridian, like meridian here and the back, and he would use his mind to really make his energy flow from the meridian in the front to the meridian in the back, and then forming like a cycle. After he did that, then he felt a great amount of heating energy in his stomach, in which the Chinese people would call it dantian, which is a pressure point. And then after meditation, he would float, levitate. So this is how he did it. He described the entire process to me. And people in the ancient past, as documented, as mentioned or described in this book, says that the Black people in Africa were able to do that, levitation and telepathy. And still, I heard that nowadays a few African tribes still can communicate with each other through telepathy. So what we see Jesus did in the Bible can actually be done by us as well. If we just focus and to practice certain psychic powers or practices. And I think parapsychology can be explained by science or scientifically. For example, if you want to really explain how certain people manifest or materialize certain objects, you can use the theory that energy can be turned into materials or objects, that theory. And that can also explain how the Great Pyramid was built. And so it can also explain how the statues on Easter Island were built. So they can actually neutralize gravity so that the big stones become weightless without weight.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
they move it to a certain,
that way. Now there is I'm sure you're participating in this. There is in many circles there is talk of ascension, quote, end of quote. Not only personal ascension, that is from third density to fourth density, but planetary ascension from third density to fourth density. And that is one of the ways of evolution, and that is that Earth is moving from third density to higher frequencies to fourth density, and that is a way that it will evolve out of this system of war, disease, crime, and poverty, and captured by the deep state. Does the Thiaoouba prophecy talk about ascension, planetary ascension and personal ascension?
Yeah, the concept of ascension is a good analogy in the sense that what the Ethiopians describe as moving to a higher category of planet once once the spirit or the astral body is purified. To me, the concept described in the book Thiaoouba Prophecy attracts me more or convince me more because it contains a lot of specific verifiable facts that people can really explore further. For example, people can visit Shingo Village, Japan, to take a look at the tomb of Jesus Christ. And people can do additional research on the antiviral, antibacterial effects of blue light, which specifically mentioned in this book when the author was disinfected once he entered their spacecraft. They used yellow light and blue light as a way to disinfect him. So there are a lot of concrete and specific facts described in the book that people can verify and corroborate with modern science. A lot of the concepts of ascension, I would assume that there are channeled information or channeled kind of information by some people. Those are good for us to really to move forward, to look into, or maybe set as a target for ascension or moving into a higher dimension. But for me, I would really follow specific verifiable facts or evidence that that would sound more logical and have more foundations or scientific basis to people who never believe in things like ascension, like channeling or life after death or things like that. I would use more scientific way to explain to them that there are certain categories of planets that have different vibrations, that that we need to elevate our mind, our spiritual development, in order to move up to a planet that has a higher vibration, maybe a category 2 planet, or maybe a category 3 planet. I would say that it's doable, but it requires collective actions, concerted actions by the people. We need to work together toward this goal.
Yeah. Let me ask you, let's take the example of Earth. Is Earth kind of been a category 1 for a long time? Are we kind of stuck here? Is there a hope for Earth to get out of a category 1, or are we sort of like stuck in the category 1?
So Earth is a category 1 planet. We live here, and when we die, depending on how our spiritual development becomes, we may live on category 2 or category 3 planet in our next lifetime. So so that's
so Earth is permanently
yes
a category 1.
Yes.
So I see. So you're saying that Earth was designed as a category 1.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
But I can tell you one thing written in the book. The Jewish people originally came from a different planet, and that was a category 3 planet. So originally, they were not going to live on Earth, but they came here accidentally because their spaceship had an accident or had a malfunction. So they landed here accidentally. Actually, in the very beginning, they landed in what's nowadays southern Russia. So yeah, I would suggest, this is a very sensitive and interesting topic.
No. This is, this is not anti-Semitic. It's just history and science. So,
and actually, this book is very pro Hebrews, pro Jewish people. It says a lot of good things about Jewish people per se, in a very, very good way and positive way, that people should really get along with each other, and because we are all created by God, and we should not discriminate against the Black people or the Jewish people or the Chinese or the yellow people or the Caucasians. We are all the same. We should live harmoniously, and we should actually look up to the Jewish people because they're unique in a very good way. So it's very interesting. I know it's very sensitive, but I should strongly suggest people to read the book.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that one. Yes. Okay, now let's go on. I'm sort of struggling to. Earth is permanently a number 1. I'm struggling to adjust to that one. I'm not sure if that's good news or bad news, but it is news. It's just, it is what it is.
Yes.
Okay. Now, 1.3 million years of past civilizations on Earth. Mm-hmm. Could you share? I'm not sure what the 1.3 million years means, but what does the Thiaoouba Prophecy say about that? What has the history been?
Yes, so we all came from different planets. About 1.35 million years ago, the Black people and yellow people came from a planet called Baccaratini, and they, because their planet was cooling down. So when Baccaratini, the planet they were living on, was cooling down, it meant that the core of that planet was cooling down. So when the core cools down, it no longer has the electromagnetic force that could capture the atmosphere anymore. So the planet was dying. So they had to move to a different planet of the same category. So that planet was a category 1 planet. They had to find a different planet that's also category 1. So they actually explored our solar system. They found Mars, and Mars 1.35 million years ago had life there. People there were short but highly spiritual. They didn't have a lot of technologies, but they were really nice people. There were a lot of there were some animals and plants, and but Mars was also a dying planet because the core was also cooling down. So that's why nowadays, if you see Mars, it doesn't have the atmosphere anymore. It's kind of like desert-like planet because the core cools down and it doesn't have the electromagnetic field anymore. So there's no atmosphere. So they had to find a different planet. So they came to Earth. So they made sure that there were no other people living on Earth at that time anymore. No other people. They found gorillas, but they were not people because human beings are different. And the black people first landed in Australia, and the yellow people landed in what now is Myanmar. And they brought a lot of animals and plants from the planet Baccaratini. For example, the black people brought kangaroos. And the kangaroos love to eat like a plant called, I forgot the Latin name, but in Australia, they call that the black boy, nicknamed the black boy, a special kind of a grass. That kind of grass tree had a difficult time of adapting to the environment on Earth. So, but they kept their efforts in bringing this plant because that was what the kangaroos ate at that time. And then by the time they were able to make the black grass tree survive on Earth, the kangaroos already had adapted to the environments of Earth by eating other plants, other foods. So if you look up like the black boy grass tree, you're going to find a research paper that states that like the kangaroos still eat young grass, the black boy grass tree. They still eat it, but only the young ones, not the older grass trees anymore. So it's very interesting how this book connects all the dots that we can verify. This is why this book is so different, that it contains specific verifiable facts that I was astonished and shocked at the details contained in the book.
Wow. Now, it talks about the Great Pyramid also. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah. Before I talk about the Great Pyramid, I should also mention that the Caucasian people came after. They landed on the continent of Atlantis, which which existed on Earth in the ancient times. And the Jewish people came the last, about 12,000 years ago. But sometime in between, there was another group of people who actually came to Earth from a different planet called Arimo X3 about 250,000 years ago. They landed on the continent of Lemuria in the Pacific Ocean. So like Easter Island was actually part of the continent of Lemuria. And on the continent of Lemuria, they built a Great Pyramid that's 3 times as large as the Great Pyramid of Egypt. So it's the Lemurians who are what's nowadays the Polynesians, who really had the advanced technology of anti-gravity and supersonic vibrational systems to cut the big stones in a very precise manner. So they built a Great Pyramid on Lemuria, and then a very learned person from Atlantis, later on, about 17,000 years ago, built another Great Pyramid in Egypt. The name of that person was Thoth. He was actually Atlantis, someone from Atlantis, and he had the knowledge, and he built the Great Pyramid of Egypt in 9 years. And it was actually a tool to capture cosmic and terrestrial energy, so that the users of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, such as the pharaohs, were able to communicate with people on other planets. And they also used the Great Pyramid of Egypt to make rain. University of Reading, the scientists over there, made rain by projecting what they call the orgone energy into the sky, into the clouds, so that the clouds could be ionized, so that rain could be formed. So they used the the Egyptians used the Great Pyramid to ionize the clouds in the sky to make rain. So I think this is very interesting because modern science can prove what the Egyptians did using the Great Pyramid.
Very interesting. So what does the Thiaoouba Prophecy say about parallel universes, the multiverse, all that kind of thing?
Yeah, some people say, yeah, let me just mention about the parallel universe first to describe it. In different locations on Earth, there are certain warps or entry points or portals in which our atmosphere or our world connects to a parallel universe. The most well-known one is the Bermuda Triangle, where ships and planes disappear. So what happened was that when they are near that location, that portal, they got sucked into that parallel universe. Michel Desmarquet personally experienced what it's like inside a parallel universe, because the Thiaoubans, the ETs, took them inside of it just to prevent other people on Earth from seeing them. So they used parallel universe as a hiding place. In the parallel universe, Michel Desmarquet, the author, saw people wearing medieval clothes and people in ancient times like savages. Time stops in a parallel universe. And I think that actually explains a lot of the missing 411 cases by David Paulides, in which people just gone vanish in national parks in the US and Canada, because they got sucked into the parallel universe. I think that can explain a lot of his cases. And people there don't feel any hunger, thirst, or pain. And this explains why a lot of the missing 411 cases, when their corpse were found, it seemed that they didn't feel any pain because it seemed that they walked to their bones, because they don't feel any pain in a parallel universe. So that's why their bones come out, and a normal person who feels pain wouldn't do that. So that explains very logically and scientifically a lot of the David Paulides missing 411 cases. Regarding multiverse, I would say, I mean, we can actually, let me say this. Let's talk about travel back in time. A lot of people say that if we can travel back in time, we can change the course of history. That's not the case. At least in our universe. in our parallel universe, unless we enter into a different universe. In our universe, when we travel back in time, what we see is a holographic exhibition or manifestation of what happened in the past. Michel Desmarquet was actually shown what happened 14,500 years ago when the entire continent of Lemuria sunk into the ocean. What he saw was like a holographic presentation of what happened in the past. He could touch the person, the holographic person, but he couldn't really change anything. What happened in the past is fixed, but we determine our future because the future is not fixed. By different actions, we move into a manifestation of the future. So some people say this prophecy predicts that we're going to die in the future and the earth is going to be distracted. No, I don't think so. I think it really depends on our actions. We determine the course of the future. You're on mute.
Thank you. Now, there's a term that they call transubstantiation, and they talk about space travel by transubstantiation. And that's a term that I've heard in religious context. But what is that like bilocation or what? Could you talk more about that? Space travel by is it like is it different from teleportation or?
I would say it is exactly what teleportation is. It's
okay.
It's probably because Michel Desmarquet was French, and he used this word transubstantiation.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go to the subject of universal law. Could you talk about that? What the Thiaoouba Prophecy talks about universal law? That is something that in our life here, I'm on a tribunal that tries to apply natural law, universal law, dealing with problems. My background as a lawyer has brought me into these areas because I go to what's called tribunals of conscience. These are outside of the civil law areas and more into natural law, universal law. Could you share what they talk about universal law?
Yeah, there are different universal laws as described in the book. And I'll just probably tell you a few of them. One of the universal laws, according to the Thiaoubans, who have been guiding us throughout the ancient past, is that our principal obligation is, through our free will, we have our free will to develop our spirituality. That is, man exists physically for the sole purpose of developing spiritually. So this is one of the universal laws that's dictated or mandated by the Creator, by God. And the second universal law is that we should follow nature as closely as possible in order to achieve the ultimate goal by the fastest path. So nature is actually a wonderful path that we should follow. And we should not really deviate from nature. For example, when Michel Desmarquet asked the Thiaoubans, what do you think about abortion? The answer is that natural? They didn't say we should or should not have abortion. They said, is that natural? So that's the answer. So we should follow nature as closely as possible. And the other universal law is that that if you make a mistake, you pay the penalty sooner or later. So that's actually coincides with the concept of karma
Karma, right?
in other religions. So we have to pay the penalty for mistakes that we made in our past lives or present.
Yeah, so that's more moral law, universal law, moral law. There's the action of that in nature. And what do they say about the future? Is there is a sort of, I guess there's, because it says the Thiaoouba Prophecy. Is there a prophecy, or is that just a general term that they use? Is there a specific prophecy?
If there's a prophecy, it's not written in the book.
I see.
The future depends on our actions. So this is why I've been devoting a lot of my time. I'm a certified court interpreter. A lot of my time to promoting the messages in the book, because I really like to change the course of the future by waking people up. And I need your help and the help of others to do so, because I think the more people learn about the messages in the book, they're going to realize that the future depends on their actions and our actions, and we can certainly change the future for the better.
Mm-hmm. Have you yourself had interaction with the Thiaoubians or with any other extraterrestrial, or are you an experiencer or a contactee?
No, I'm not. I'm a very logical and very kind of grounded person. And I also ask them not to give me assistance unless they absolutely have to, because I really want to learn on my own. That's the best way to remember the lessons that I learned in my lifetime. I want to take advantage of my lifetime to achieve my life mission, and to really do it more effectively by doing it independently, without the answers given to me directly.
Right. What I'd like to do now is to go to share screen so that we can share. Can you see that that screen?
Yes.
And I went to Amazon, and I didn't know that you had written a book, Spiritual Awakening with Spiritual Knowledge, Personal Experiences and Correspondences with Michel Desmarquet, author of Thiaoouba Prophecy, Abduction to the Ninth Planet, the Golden Planet, by Samuel Chong. Yeah. So that is available on Amazon. Could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I was going to post it free on my website, but because it criticized the Chinese government, so they were going to block my website. So I have to put it on Amazon so that they don't really block my website. I really want to cause a maximum impact to as many people as possible. So that book actually details the experience, how I was fascinated by the paranormal when I was young, how I found the book, how I was able to visit Michel Desmarquet twice, and then how he told me the information that he didn't put in the book. I didn't reveal the secret, but I kind of told the whole story of how I encountered him.
Mm-hmm. Now, here we have two books by Michel Desmarquet. There's Thiaoouba Prophecy and are these actually the same book?
Yes, they're actually exactly the same, just different titles and different covers.
Oh, I see. But they're the same book.
Yeah, they're the same book.
Yeah.
The reason for the two different versions, that the one down below, it was selling very expensively on Amazon. It was out of print, and people were selling it for hundreds of dollars. So Michel Desmarquet was really upset about it, and he really wanted access by as many people as possible. So he asked me to do that again.
Yeah. Now, do you teach do you teach classes about the Thiaoouba Prophecy? Or
I haven't really started anything like that. If there's an interest, I can share my personal experiences from
yeah,
what I learned in the past.
well,
But
the content of what they say, because you would since you're more expert in the content of the book and the prophecy and the vessel and everything.
yeah,
One of the reasons I ask is that together with other faculty, we have developed a thing called Omniversity,
mhm.
which is a learning platform for multidimensional knowledge in exopolitics, exosciences, sciences, and spiritual sciences. And this would fit in that thing. What myself, I teach there, and other people. And you would be most welcome as a faculty member there. And we have over 500 enrolled students there, registered students. Is that something that you would consider?
Yes, I would definitely consider that. And
Oh, good. Well,
great.
maybe after this, this program is one thing, but maybe we can keep in communication. We're now developing a new platform it's being designed now,
Mhm.
and it'll be ready. We're meeting with our webmasters, and it'll be ready over the next few weeks. And so once it's up, maybe we could have conversations about what sort of classes you might want to give, and because you could. I think that this would be very valuable to offer to in Omniversity. So I will reach out to you if that's okay.
Yes, thank you. I'll be honored to teach your class.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So people can just go to, I just entered in Thiaoouba Prophecy, and then your book also came up on Amazon.
Yes.
So I'm just going to stop sharing there.
Mhm.
Okay, so very, very good. Well, do you have any of that? That's all the prepared questions that I had. Do you have any other insights or summaries or things that you'd like to share in this program? I know that we can have follow-on programs, but in this program, this is our introduction on this program to this body of information. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, or
Yes.
so people who want to follow up on this, they can go onto Amazon. What is your website?
My website is chinasona.org.
Could you spell it? Could you put that in the chat?
Yes.
In
I'll
the
put it
Zoom
in the
chat?
Yes.
And I'll put it in the notes here.
Yes. It's my website.
Oh, there we are, chinasona.org. Okay, Thiaoouba. I'll put that in the chat. Let me just go over here. And let me just share that again so that people have the benefit of it and they can see it. So do you want to talk about that a bit, or?
Yes. So this website contains a lot of information or expensive information on the topics discussed in the book Thiaoouba Prophecy. And it goes in depth about some of the researches that I've been doing. For example, the human energy field, the auras, And I found that to be extremely important because I met some people who can see the colors of auras, and they can predict physical illness before they manifest in the physical body. And so I'm actually developing an aura camera that can capture it in a more effective way. It also talks about certain issues related to secret societies. As I was researching about the ability to see auras, I found another book that was originally published in German language that documents the chair of a secret society who was able to develop the abilities to see the colors of auras. And I translated that book from German to English. It turned out that the book was about the autobiography of the highest degree chair of the Illuminati. I didn't believe that existed. I mean, I didn't believe all the conspiracy theories in the past. But that book contains a lot of details that corroborate with the accounts of a former Dutch banker called Ronald Bernard, who used to work for members of the Illuminati. And I think if two unrelated accounts corroborate in a very consistent manner, I think that presents a credible evidence, at least to me. So it actually reveals a lot of the reasons that we have had a lot of issues nowadays, because the author, while he realized the importance of everything is about love, universal love, the upcoming leader of that organization didn't believe so. And that person, the younger person, had more psychic powers that was going to overpower him and to replace him as a leader of that organization. So this is the reason why he revealed the secrets of the secret society, and just in order for people to wake up and to have this kind of higher level of collective consciousness, so that the organization can be broken from within. They're afraid of the power of the people. So this is the reason why he decided to reveal the secrets of how they were able to achieve the supernatural powers or psychic abilities.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing this. Here, I'll stop share. Okay, so people can reach you through that website.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing this, and I look forward to our future contact, and hopefully our platform will be up within the next several weeks and months, and I think it'll be a very useful addition because it falls within that general mandate of omniversity, of multidimensional knowledge, and certainly the mandate of this advanced race, which I think and their mandate, which sounds very positive. Certainly, I learned something today, and that is that Earth is a Category 1 planet, and that's it. Whoa, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. According to this book, yes.
Yeah, according to the book. And we'll see. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come here. We're very gratified, and we'll send you the links once this is up, and we'll be sending it out to our mailing lists and our subscribers. It's over 8,000 subscribers, and we look forward to the next steps. So thank you very much then.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Yeah. Don't go away on this
Okay.
stuff.